Yo, what's up guys? Today I've got a new top 10 video, and this time it's top 10 Dungeoneering rewards. Now before I start off, this video was recommended to do by someone by the name of Princess123. He's a member of the clan and he recommended this to me the other day, so thank you for the recommendation because it is actually a very smart video idea, since there are a bunch of great Dungeoneering rewards to choose from. So yeah, in this video I'm just going to show you what I consider my top 10. Starting off at number 10 we have the Bone Crusher. You need 21 Dungeoneering in order to use this, however it does cost 34,000 tokens. Now before we go anywhere else, I know those of you that have trained Dungeoneering before know that it's pretty much impossible to get 34,000 tokens at level 21 Dungeoneering. Dungeoneering is pretty weird like this. In some cases the Dungeoneering level required is pretty low compared to the tokens needed. I think this is just because you can get tokens from like Treasure Hunter and stuff, and that will obviously add to your Dungeoneering tokens instead of you actually leveling Dungeoneering, so I guess this is why they've done that. So yeah, just bear in mind throughout the video, if you are aiming for one of the items in this video, by the time you get to the Dungeoneering level required to actually use it, you may not have enough tokens to actually buy it. But anyway, what this Bone Crusher does is that it converts all bones dropped into prayer experience. So basically, if you're going to be killing a large amount of monsters, they're obviously going to drop a large amount of bones, and then when they drop these bones, this Bone Crusher will automatically give you a bunch of prayer experience. This can actually get added to your tool belt if you learn it from a Slayer Master, however this does cost quite a bit of Slayer points, and the reason this Bone Crusher is so useful is that it works with our number 9 slot, which is the Demon Horn Necklace. Now the Demon Horn Necklace requires 90 Dungeoneering and 90 prayer in order to wear it, and it also costs 35,000 Dungeoneering tokens. Even though these requirements are quite high, it does work extremely well with the Bone Crusher because every time you bury a bone, it restores prayer points. So whilst your Bone Crusher is automatically burying bones, this thing is giving you extra prayer points as well, so this means you're going to be using less prayer pots or super restores, and this will in the long run save you quite a lot of money. So if you have the Dungeoneering level required, I'd highly suggest buying the Demon Horn Necklace and the Bone Crusher. Coming in at number 8 we have the Mile Potion Recipes. You need 75 Dungeoneering to unlock these, and you can just find these recipes whilst you're in a dungeon by just opening some doors, or you can actually buy these recipes for 500,000 Dungeoneering tokens each. And all you have to do with these recipes is just hand them in to Lady Mile in Prif, and then you can just make these unlocked potions yourself. Some examples of these potions are just the Overload Salve, the Supreme Overload Salve, and the Perfect Plus Potion. These potions are just extremely useful and convenient, and as you progress to higher levels these will just come in handy in the future, so yeah, these are definitely useful. At number 7 we have the Celestial Dragon Resource Dungeon. Now these technically aren't rewards, but I kinda count them as rewards because they pretty much are. It just gives you access to a complete new area, so yes, I am counting resource dungeons as rewards. In order to access this resource dungeon you need 67 Dungeoneering, and this doesn't cost you any Dungeoneering tokens at all. All you need is the 67 Dungeoneering and the one of a kind quest in order to access them. And yeah, this resource dungeon just pretty much allows you to kill celestial dragons because this is the only place where you can actually kill them. These monsters are just one of the best Slayer tasks in the game. They're just such good XP and money, and they're easy to do as well. And their visage rate is really high as well, so every time you go on a task you should really expect to get one. And they're actually just fun in general to do as well. So yeah, I'm sure those of you that train Slayer and actually do this task as well agree with me on this. Celestial dragons are just a Dungeoneering reward that you cannot miss out on. At number 6 we have another resource dungeon, and that is the Frost Dragon Resource Dungeon. This is unlocked at level 85, and this is the only place that you can kill Frost Dragons apart from in an actual dungeon, but that doesn't really count because you can't pick up the bones and then sell them, and that is pretty much the main purpose of Frost Dragons. Now Frost Dragon bones are still like 11k, so it's still really worth coming here. Even if you don't have a yak to yak the bones, you can just use some magic note paper, and I'm almost certain that it's still like 2 to 3 mil an hour. Even if your combat stats are only like 85 or 90, it's still pretty much insane money for those mid-level players. Just make sure that you bring a Dragonfire potion when you come here, or you can just bring a Dragonfire shield as well, but that's not really effective, so just bring the potion, and then either bring a yak or some magic note paper, and then you should be ready to camp these. At number 5 we have Chaotic Weapons. Now you can use these from level 80 Dungeoneering, and you also need level 80 in whatever weapon that you're using. So if you're using crossbows you need 80 range, if you're using the staff you need 80 magic, and then if you're using any of the melee weapons you need 80 attack. And then these chaotic weapons cost 200,000 Dungeoneering tokens each, however the offhand versions of each chaotic weapon cost 100,000. So let's say you wanted the main hand chaotic crossbow and the offhand chaotic crossbow, this would cost you a total of 300,000 Dungeoneering tokens. And the reason these chaotic weapons are ranked so highly is because these are pretty much free tier 80 weapons. And there isn't really much of a good choice of weapons between levels 70 to 85, so these are pretty much just a good median, so I highly recommend getting them. And even at level 85 the weapons there are kind of pricey, because there you have the Dragon Rider Lance which is like over 10 mil, and then you have the Blade of Avarice and Nymora, Those blades are pretty cheap, I mean they're like what, 3 mil for the set, but if you just don't want to spend money, these chaotic weapons are definitely worth it for you. At number 4 we have the Ring of Vigor. You need 62 Dungeoneering and 62 attack in order to wear this, and it costs 50,000 Dungeoneering tokens. And what does this Ring of Vigor do? Well, when worn after using an ultimate ability, you will go down to 10% adrenaline instead of 0% adrenaline. I just really can't stress to you how important this item is in high level PVMing, because think about it, if you've just used the Berserk ability, if you go down to 10% instead of 0, you'll have more time in order to build up to 50% again and then use your threshold abilities while your Berserk is still up. So this pretty much means that your damage output is going to be higher and then you'll get quicker kills on whatever you're doing. So this is why it's just so important to have this whilst you're going to be high level PVMing, because this will increase your kills per hour and then in turn increase your GP per hour as well. So yeah, if you plan on PVMing in the future, I highly suggest saving Dungeoneering tokens in order to get this, because trust me, you will not regret it. At number 3 we have another resource dungeon, and that is the Edemu resource dungeon. This resource dungeon is unlocked at level 115 Dungeoneering, and this just basically allows you to kill Edemus. Now I personally have not unlocked this Edemu resource dungeon, pretty much because the level required is just insane for me, but I actually am going to end up going for this level in the future because what I heard about Edemus is insane. Every Slayer task that you get Edemus is around 10 mil, and that in itself is just mad. And it's not even like you get lucky on a Slayer task and get 10 mil, no, this is pretty much consistent 10 mil Slayer tasks. And you can even go there off Slayer task, and I'm pretty sure the money that you make is going to be more or less the same, probably just a bit slower since you don't get the Slayer Helm bonus, but still 10 mil a Slayer task is just mad. The reason that there's so much GP per hour is because they drop some of the crystal items, and these crystal items, as you probably know, have gone up since the release of Invention, since they're pretty cheap items that people don't mind disassembling, and by cheap I mean they're like what, 300k to 500k each. So yeah, if you're ever bothered enough to go for this, 115 Dungeoneering is required. That is a lot of XP, but I guess in the end you're rewarded with this resource dungeon. And yeah, that's just why it's ranked so high, because in my mind 10 mil per Slayer task is just insane. At number 2 we have Scrolls. Now these scrolls can be used from 25 Dungeoneering plus, and they cost 10k to 30k Dungeoneering tokens. And what do these scrolls do? Well, they give you various perks for farming, herblore, smithing, construction, crafting, and Dungeoneering. Let's just go over the scrolls that are available to us. I didn't add these scrolls individually to the list because I think they're all as valuable as each other, so I just added them all as one big one. So yeah, first up we have the Scroll of Life, and you need 25 Dungeoneering and 25 farming in order to read this. It costs 10k Dungeoneering tokens, and it gives you a 10% chance of receiving seeds back when harvesting a patch. Now this works for all patches apart from trees or flowers, so if you're one of those that goes on a farming run every few hours, then you should definitely look into getting this, because this will save you a valuable amount of seeds. Next up we have the Scroll of Cleansing, and this requires 49 Dungeoneering and 49 herblore to read, and this scroll costs 20,000 Dungeoneering tokens, and this one gives you a 1 in 8 chance of making a potion twice as fast, and a 1 in 10 chance of receiving a secondary ingredient back. So this one can actually save you a lot of money, because usually the second ingredient is the most valuable ingredient, so if you're ever going to train herblore or plan on training herblore in the future, then I highly suggest investing in this one. Next is the Scroll of Efficiency, and this requires 55 Dungeoneering and 55 Smithing in order to read, and just like the last one, it costs 20,000 Dungeoneering tokens. And what this one does is whenever you smith something that requires 3 or more bars to create, you have a chance to save a bar. So this is extremely useful, especially if you're using very expensive bars, because this one can also save you a lot of money. Next is the Scroll of Dexterity, and this requires 60 Dungeoneering and 60 crafting in order to read. And just like the last two, it also costs 20,000 Dungeoneering tokens. Now this one pretty much has the same effect of the last one. Whenever you craft something that requires 3 or more items to create, you have a chance to save an item. So let's say for example that you're creating d'hide bodies, you have a chance to save a piece of dragon leather there. So yeah, like the last one, it can save you a lot of money as well. The Scroll of Proficiency requires 60 Dungeoneering and 60 construction in order to read, and just like the past few, it also costs 20,000 Dungeoneering tokens. And once again, this is similar to the other two. Whenever you construct something that requires 3 or more planks to create, you have a chance to save a plank. So once again, this is another opportunity to save yourself some money. Finally, onto the last one, this is the Scroll of Daemonheim. It requires 70 Dungeoneering to read, and it costs 30,000 Dungeoneering tokens. And what this does is whenever you complete a skilling action in Daemonheim, there's a chance that you will gain 5% of that XP in Dungeoneering. So if you're ever going to do something that requires you to stand at a bank like fletching or crafting, you could just set up a portable crafter or fletcher there in Daemonheim, and you can gain some Dungeoneering XP whilst doing those other skills. So yeah, as you can see, all the scrolls that I mentioned are extremely useful, and they're pretty much just similar to each other, so that's why I included them all in this number 2 slot. Finally, at number 1, we have the Charming Imp. Now I highly debated with myself which one I should choose for number 1. It was either this or the scrolls, and then I just thought to myself which one has found more use for me, and it's definitely the Charming Imp. The Charming Imp requires 21 Dungeoneering and 21 Summoning in order to buy, and it costs 100,000 Dungeoneering tokens. And what does the Charming Imp do? Well, it just basically picks up charms instantly for you. So whenever charms fall to the ground when you're killing monsters, this Charming Imp will instantly put them into your inventory, so you don't have to spend time picking them up from the ground yourself. I just find this guy extremely useful since you don't have to spend any time looking on the floor for charms like I said. It just means that you can focus on kills, especially if you're just charm hunting. And also if you're 99 and you don't want charms, you can let the Charming Imp keep the charms and then it will instantly give you some summoning XP. This is the option I use personally at the moment since I don't want to pick up any charms from the floor. And then this just allows me to use the area loot pickup where you can just press space and then loot everything in the area. So yeah, it's just really beneficial for whatever you want him for. But anyway, that is the end of this top 10. If there's any top 10 or top 5s that you'd like to see in the future, please let me know in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching, subscribe if you're new, and peace!